Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stassi. Thank you so much for being here today. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to be hosting this podcast today of Sims builders in the design industry. And I am so excited to dive in of what it's actually like to work in the design industry and what it's like. Do you take your design knowledge into the Sims, or do you take stuff from the knowledge in the Sims and put it in your real life? So I'm very excited to dive in. And I have the best of the best here today who are in the design industry, willing to share their tips and tricks of how they associate their day life into their Sims life. So I am so excited to have Kev, the Disney Sims, Simteriorr, and Paz here today. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
I'm so excited. And Kev, I have to thank you because you came to me with this podcast idea a little while ago. And I promised you we would get it in season 2, and we are here today, baby. So before we dive in, Kev, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
I'm KevTheBuilder. I am coming for Courtney's like 47 episodes that she's been on at this point. But yeah, I'm KevTheBuilder. I am primarily a Twitch streamer and builder. But by day I do interior architecture and interior design here in Chicago. And I'm just really excited to talk about this subject because I feel like a lot of people come into my streams and they're like, oh, it's so cool. I've always wanted to be, an interior designer in real life. And, I love The Sims, and that kind of got me in this like passion to move forward, but it's so cool that you do it in real life. So I just kind of feel like it's, a topic that a lot of people would love to hear, what the day-to-day life is like in real life, and then why we do this, play The Sims, so
Well, thank you I cannot wait to hear more. And especially for people who want to know. I would you say after Dream Decor Decorator came out that people got a little bit more interested in maybe to this career as they get kids? I don't know. I'm not an HGTV person. So anytime I turn it on, I'm like, oh, this is cool. Or you're like, this person needs to buy a house. They have $7 and a wish, and they want an 18-bedroom beach house.
I'll say HGTV definitely skews the perspective of reality in every way when it comes to interior design and architecture. So, I mean,
100%.
as much as I would love to make a kitchen for like $2,500 in real life, like it's never that much,
No.
So, but yeah, I think this is always a topic. And I think, Dream Home Decorator was probably a fun way for people to see a little bit into the process of like working with clients in a way, but it's just like a toe in the water. We'll put it that way. Yeah.
I got you. Well, Disney Sims, hi baby girl. Welcome back.
Hello, happy to be back. You'll never get rid of me.
Or almost the 40th time. You're so close to 40. That is insane.
That's just like real life too. I'm close to 40. Everything hurts.
Oh.
So hi, I'm Court, aka the Disney Sims, aka Townie Tales. I know most of you know me as a storyteller because that's pretty much all I show off, but I'm actually an architectural drafter in real life. You might wonder what that is. It's not an architect. I did not go to university for a crazy amount of time. I basically do Kevin's grunt work. So he would plan out something beautiful and then get me to put it onto a blueprint, basically to show contractors how it's to be made. I do like designing as well, and I ended up picking this career because I was such an avid simmer growing up. And also, even before then, I was obsessed with Barbies. I would take the Barbie furniture and like put them on shelves, and I cared more about that than I cared about actually playing Barbies. And yeah, then it went from that to The Sims to, well, what do I want to do with my life? Well, I like playing The Sims. I might as well take architectural drafting. And yeah, I do that. I have worked on mechanical, electrical stuff for apartment buildings. Tends to be my specialty because I make the most money doing that. But I've also designed helped design apartment buildings under the direction of other people. I don't want to take full credit for most of the projects that I do. I'm working along somebody else. So, but now I work for a nonprofit and I design furniture. And I love that because the turnaround for it is like 8 to 12 weeks. And so I'll design something and then I get to see it in real time. Whereas like with apartment buildings, like I worked on one in 2016 and it just got put up now. So sometimes the process can be really long. Anyway, that's what I do.
Well, I cannot wait to hear more. Sorry, guys, as I have a frog in my throat. So excited to dive in a little bit more. Sims Interior, welcome. First time. I'm so excited to get to know you a little bit more.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my, it's honestly, it's a pleasure. And I love getting introduced to more amazing members in the Sims community. So, but before we dive in, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm Asia, or aka Simteriorr. You might have seen me on Twitch, Instagram, primarily, or Tumblr. Yeah, I have a background in interior design. So it's almost like, I mean, I don't know, Disney was saying, the more of, like a architectural drafter, and like I've assumed I've had a bit of a eclectic background, I think, with interior design. So like residential design being like my main kind of focus, and then with that I tend to be, I don't know, I have a software engineer for a dad, so I'm very technical and I'm very into computers and very into games and stuff like that. So that's definitely translated its way from just playing The Sims at 9 years old to then deciding in high school that I was gonna like do this in real life. And yeah, same Disney. Like instead of, I mean, I played with Barbies too, but instead of Barbies, a lot of it was Bratz dolls. And so
Yes, I did
I,
that too.
yes, I would just like, I also, same thing. I found myself, I would take all the furniture that was like in my house, like in real life, and then like put the furniture on top of other pieces of furniture to make a house out of the furniture in my house for the dolls. So yeah, it's always been like ingrained in me. And then once I found The Sims, I was like, oh, this is sick, and then I can do this in real life. Okay, bet. Like it was done deal. So yeah, I've been in the industry for about 8 years, and I love having the like coinciding and like juxtaposition of like doing design in The Sims and in real life. So it's very fun.
Well, I definitely can't wait to hear more about that. And thank you again so much for coming. Last but not least, Paz, welcome back, my friend.
Hello, glad to be
Hello.
back.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, hi. My name is Sharina, but people know me as Paszerine in social media. So I'm an interior designer here in the Philippines, and I'm a little bit new to the industry, but it's something I've always been passionate about. And in fact, one of the things that have influenced me to take up interior design was The Sims. So I've been playing The Sims since I was 8 years old. So the very first Sims game is back in the year. I guess I started playing 2005, but I started with The Sims 1, and then 2, 3, and now it's 4th. So for YouTube, I also do a lot of interior design videos for builders. So I do a lot of tutorials, so tips on how to build a good floor plan, tips on how to do a better interior and all that. So it's just something I enjoy doing. But on in my regular days, I do work as an interior designer at a small firm. But I'm happy to announce that I'm gonna start working on my own solo from around this year actually, which is super exciting. So it's always something I've always wanted to do by myself, and I'm very, very excited to try that. And at the same time, I'm also like doing my content on the side. So The Sims is a really big part of my life as a designer, and it's one thing. It's a good thing that's still part of my career as well. And I made like it's just a fun thing that I do as well next to my professional life.
Amazing.
Absolutely, that is amazing. I cannot wait to hear more of this. And congratulations for wanting to work, like being able to work by yourself.
Thank
That is a
you.
huge
Yeah,
achievement.
fantastic.
Great.
Congrats.
I'd like to ask,
I'm so excited. Thank you.
Kev and Asia, do you also do contract work? Like, would you say that you like have your own businesses?
I don't. I work for a firm here, and I have always thought about going on my own, but there is the liability aspect of it that I'm just like sort of terrified about. So that's the only thing. So, but otherwise, really enjoy the firm that I'm at, and I think the projects that I work on are like dream projects that like would be very difficult to achieve on my own, so
Yes.
Do you
Yeah,
ever, sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Same. So I actually, it's funny that you asked this. Like I've been working for firms basically my entire career, but then the pandemic it kind of shook some things up, especially over here in California. I don't know if I said that. I'm in Los Angeles, but so yeah, I wouldn't, so I don't have like an LLC or anything. Like it's not like I have my own business, but I do freelance like contract work. So it's just, and a lot of it is like referral business and like word of mouth and everything like that.
Yeah.
But up until last year, I was working for a firm similar to Kev. So or many firms actually. But yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but it's also been fun to like get to experience like multiple this the one thing that if we'll probably, I'm sure all of you can agree, we'll probably cover on this podcast is that design industry is so multifaceted. It's like it's kind of ridiculous. Like there's so many different avenues. So I feel pretty lucky to kind of have experience in like multiple little pots. So yeah.
I would agree. Similarly to me, I find I didn't intentionally go into contract work, but it kind of just organically happened and for me, it's a little bit easier because again, as an architectural drafter, I don't have like the stamp, like permit signature approvals that an interior designer or an architect would have. And so for somebody like me, it's very easy for an architect or a interior designer or a developer or just somebody from that industry to hire me out and then have somebody else approve it because it's so much less an hour to hire me out than it is to hire somebody who really could just approve it for you because there's so much grunt work involved in putting plans together. And so for somebody like me, it's pretty easy for me to do contract work, but I also don't have an LLC, but in Canada, it works out that if you make under 30K a year that you get put into like a special category. So you just get to claim things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Well, I feel like the first question I want to ask is everyone here is a lifetime simmer. And obviously the Sims put a huge aspect of your life wanting to get in to interior design. But how do you actually do it? How do you get into interior design? We have 3 different countries here being represented. So I'm really curious to see what the 3 differences are. And Disney, you go first.
Yeah, well, again, not an interior designer. The interior designers will come for me if you call me an interior designer.
Stop, no.
Architectural drafting. How do you do that?
Yeah, I'm a little bit odd one out here. I would say actually, so as when I was like 8 years old and I started playing around with paint, just drawing blueprints on paint, I then was introduced to The Sims, and it was 3D modeling software basically. And I found when I eventually took architectural drafting that the Revit actually, sorry to go back. Originally, they taught us AutoCAD, and AutoCAD is the industry standard. I would argue that most people in industry are using the AutoCAD software, and it's all line and layer based. And so you're drawing stuff in 2D. There are 3D components and add-ons that you can add. We could talk about that later. But I was then introduced to a program called Revit, which is an Autodesk product, also owned by AutoCAD, but it has 3D modeling software, and it's actually comparable to The Sims in some ways. I actually prefer putting something up in The Sims than I do using this software because, and I mean, like, obviously it's not something that you could present to clients or anything, but just in terms of enjoying to build something and put it up quickly, The Sims does a better job, I find, than actual industry does. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kev. Or
You're not wrong. You're not
No,
wrong.
you're not wrong.
And
I just,
I'd say Sims is way user friendly too. That's
Right.
the other
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I do the same exact thing. Like it's funny that you say that because like I was actually in Kev's Twitch chat. I literally said like we were talking about something, just The Sims and like being in the industry or something, and I said, yeah, like I've like used Sims like in like job interviews and or like on jobs or something like that. And Kev was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, like you're using The Sims for like design projects? I was like, no. Let me rephrase. Like, it's not. I'm not using like Sims as like another reliable like program for it. But sometimes, like honestly, it's a bit easier for me and my design process, like individually, especially like for my own like contract, independent work. Like, I will, I'll come back from a consultation with a client, first meeting, kind of getting to know them, like everything about their project, blah, blah, blah. And I'm already the second, I mean, I'm sure Kev can relate and Paz, the second you're leaving a client meeting, you're like already, the wheels are turning of like what's this project is going to even, look like. So I'll go home and like build it in The Sims and like mock it up. And it kind of it puts me in the right direction. It makes going into CAD and then SketchUp or Revit or whatever you're using, it makes it a lot like easier because you've already kind of you've done the like conceptualizing with like of course Pinterest and Instagram and like all the like mood boards and everything like that. But like The Sims is kind of a cool you know efficient way and fast way because it is so user friendly, like Kev said. I mean, you're picking up things and putting things down, and like the drawing walls is not like there's no math, like
Yeah.
really. There's no like there's no real unit
Decimals, like you don't have to worry about any of that.
exactly. So it's kind of like a nice, I don't want to call it a cheat way because that sounds diminishing, but like it's a nice little like
It's like a programming like study, it's
yeah,
like there's
yeah,
such a big thing like when you're in university and they're teaching you to like do bubble diagrams and like
yes,
blockings of spaces and like to help you like 3D mod, like get the space modeling put together. And like I think The Sims is, could absolutely be used in a way to do that same sort of like programming study, of visual
exactly.
spaces. So
Yeah.
I will say as well, I'm part of this group. I'm not anymore, but I used to be. It's called Techsploration. And the people in industry would go to like the junior high schools and you would do like a round table. And then, like the 8th graders or whatever would like come to your table and listen to what you would want, like what you do and what you're about. And I would actually bring The Sims and I would be like, hey, do you like playing The Sims? Because that's what I used to do what I'm doing now. And I would use that as like the gateway to like if you want to start doing that, it's a great way to get started. And it really is. I'd say SketchUp as well is a Google product and it's free in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a lot of add-ons that they would make you pay for. But if somebody wants to get started doing modeling that way too, it might be easier for them, although The Sims is free now. So
yeah.
True.
yeah.
So, out of curiosity, so what schooling? Like what schooling do you need? Do you go to university, college, community college? Is this do you go to the trades? I'm just kind of curious.
So I actually, yeah, so I went to FIDM, which is the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. That's in Los Angeles. They have it's I think it's only a California trade school, but they have 4 locations. But the Los Angeles one is like the main one. So if you go to another FIDM campus, like they have one in San Diego, for example, first of all, the majors are kind of limited there, but then you can start there, but you have to graduate from the main LA campus. So yeah, so that's where I went to school. But yeah, you asked earlier like how we got started, or like how we got into it as well. FIDM actually came to my high school, similar to what you just described, Disney. They came to my high school when I was in like 11th grade or something like that, and did a presentation on, like, hey, this is what it's like to, this is an option for you of like, getting kids excited to apply for colleges and stuff like that. So UCLA came, and like USC came, and just like all these big state schools, and then FIDM, and I was just like, yeah, that's the one I want. I want that one. And crazy amounts of private school money later, thank you, mom and dad, I went to FIDM, and so I studied interior design. So both of my degrees are in interior design. So I have an associate's of arts in interior design and a bachelor of arts in interior design specifically. So
Cool.
yeah, it's super fun. It's super fun. Honestly, FIDM was like I said, very expensive, but then also I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like, I've heard, not to, knock any other, universities programs and anything like that, but I've heard UCLA has a great program and stuff like that. And some community colleges that are around as well. But I just don't think I would have gotten the same exact like hands-on experience that I got at FIDM. I mean, who does field trips in college? Like, I guess that's pretty rare. I mean, like, we went to historic houses that are here in Los Angeles. Like, we've done design competitions with like actual manufacturers. Like, we got so much exposure, so it really like geared me up for the actual industry. So yeah, that's kind of like a brief overview of my schooling.
How many years was that for you? 4? Cool.
So 2 years in associates and 2 years in bachelor's.
Neat.
So after those 4 years, could you take it on to the next level? I'm not sure how. So would that be a master's or a PhD?
Mhm.
Master's? Okay.
Masters, yeah. And then
PhD.
Would you ever take the master's PhD route?
So sorry, I would be interested to hear like everyone's thoughts on this, but like it's usually, from my experience or like colleagues that I've gone to school with and everything like that, whether it's master's, or a lot of times people will just get the bachelor's degree and then go straight into certification. So like NCIDQ is a big what would you call that, Kev? Organization.
It's like a licensing for interior
licensing.
designers. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a big one. And LEED certification is basically like sustainability design. So there's different routes that you can go as far as your credits and what you can add to your resume, and your certifications and all that stuff. But a master's degree is definitely not like uncommon.
Yeah. I think my path, I think we all took a very similar path where like we were so in love with The Sims, right? And so like in high school, I was very much in like the arts, and I was in yearbook, and I was doing photography, and I was convinced that I was going to go to school for like photojournalism. Like, I knew, like, I thought that was going to be my career path, and I was like, I'm going to go to Mizzou because I was living in St. Louis at the time, and I'm going to go to their photojournalism program and all that kind of stuff. And it was like right during like 2008 was when I was like, 2007 was when I graduated high school. And it was like that time period of like, there's a lot going on in the world. Economy's kind of like crashing in the United States. Like, where am I going to be going to school? So I spent one semester at home, like going to a university that was local, and I did some like gen ed classes. And I really think that time made me kind of realize like, okay, there are other facets of like creativity that I could do. I never took interior design in high school. It wasn't like a thing at my high school. So we had started to look at universities that offered it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like something I could do Sims in real life. Like, this is something that I could do. I love to build. I was literally Sims 3 was my life, you know, like I loved Sims 3. I know there's such a fight, you know, Stassi's like Sims 2 all the way, but I was like, I
Same.
was such a Sims 3 person. And I don't know what it was, but like that's where I spent most of my time. And, you know, I was starting to look at universities. There were colleges that were offering interior design classes, you know, or degrees, but they weren't accredited by like a national, at the time it was FIDER was the sort of university accreditation, so that you would get like an actual degree in it. But there were other universities that were FIDER accredited, and so you kind of had to like pick and choose like where you wanted to go. I ended up at the Art Institute in Chicago here, and it's part of the art museum. So like if you've ever been to Chicago, it's like our big art museum, and then they actually have the school that's like attached to it. And it was a really, really cool program. I met some amazing professors that, like, you know, had worked on real projects, which was the part of the, you know, the path that I wanted. I didn't want somebody, you know, professors that were just like, you know, doing Dunkin' Donut designs or something like that, you know, like I wanted somebody who could tell me, like, you know, my original drafting teacher, she actually did the an addition onto the spaceship house that was out in Denver. So like where they filmed the scene in Charlie's Angels, where like Drew Barrymore's like hanging
Yes.
on like the edge of the house and stuff like that. That's like outside of Golden and like Red Rocks and everything out there in Denver. And she did like the addition that was on it. And, you know, like I had teachers that were doing master's programs there while they were teaching the undergrad, and trying to come up with concepts of like floating islands in Lake Michigan to kind of help facilitate like reclaimed recycling, you know, like there's always like these different facets that we were just talking about. But I think there's so many creative minds that are out there for interior design and architecture in that way. But I was really fortunate. I loved the school that I went to. There were so many good opportunities. And then, you know, I just kind of ended up working for an internship in high-end residential, getting paid nothing, you know, like my internship was not paid. And these days when I see interns come in, they're like requesting a salary. I'm just like, you know, I worked, you know, all through my university at an internship getting paid nothing. I was lucky if I even got like a little bonus or something at Christmas and stuff like that. But I was going to school, I was working for a furniture showroom that I was getting paid for, but then I was also at my internship too at the same time. And you know, I ended up graduating, and it was a year-round program. So I actually graduated in 3 years with my BFA in interior design. And I stayed at this firm. We mainly worked on like vacation lake homes for an area that's like outside of Chicago and southern Wisconsin, in Lake Geneva is the town, which became a very like well-established area when the Chicago fire happened. So a lot of these people who had homes in Chicago, you know, way back when, and then the fire happened, they had already owned land up in this like lake area, and then they had built primary residences up there, and it just became a really affluent you know, vacation destination for people in Chicago. And that was like my bread and butter, was working on lake homes. And then like 8 years ago, I was in Vegas for a trade show for I think it was like the builders show or something like that. That happens in Vegas and Miami every once in a while. And I was doing an award ceremony there, and the firm that I'm at now kind of like basically poached me. Like they were like, you know, we're looking for somebody who can head this division of our firm for interior architecture. You know, we'd like to just set up a meeting with you, kind of a thing. And I was like, you know, this doesn't happen in real life, you know, this isn't a thing. And so I've been there now for 8 years, and I have a team of 6 with me that we primarily work on high-end residential in Chicago. And it's mainly primary residences, but we do condos all the time too. And but like I was kind of saying earlier, like I could never achieve this type of client status, like if I was on my own, nor would I want to be able to handle this kind of workload on my own. So it's good to have a team on this level of scale of project. And, I don't think interior design was ever in my idea of like a career or a degree, but when I found out that you could do that, and it's very much like The Sims too, like it just made like a perfect fit for me. So yeah.
Amazing. Well,
Love that.
Kev, I've known you for like 3 years now, and like
I know.
I got to learn. I love that.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. Have you done any apartments on Michigan Avenue? I'm just
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I'm the John Hancock building that's on Michigan
yeah.
Avenue. I've done like three apartments, condos in that building now. And it's such a weird building because when it was built was in like, I don't know, it was maybe the 30s, 1930s, or like going into the 40s maybe. And the building's just so iconic because the support structure is on the outside of it. So that's why you see these X's that are going all the way up on the skyscraper. But when you're in that building, it does sway a lot because we are the Windy City. And, the way that it was built with the cross braces on the outside, and then there's a pendulum that's hanging in the center of the building to counterbalance the sway of everything. That was like iconic technology that was like, we still use it to this day, but like back then, like that was state of the art. And that building is so much fun to be in, and like the history of it. And there's always like, what?
Is there a pool in the building or no?
Oh yeah. There's a pool
Where's
in
that
it.
in the building?
It's like, I'd say it's like on like it. That's the other weird thing about it. The pool's like on the 40th floor. So yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. It's so weird, but yeah, it's like on the 40th floor. And but that building goes up to 96 floors. Like that's how tall it is. And the highest condo unit that I've ever worked on was on the 84th floor. And that building is so ridiculous. Like you enter and then you have to go up to the 40th floor to get to like the start of the residences. And then you have to take another elevator to go up in the residences too. So it's crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm from like middle of nowhere. Well, not from middle of nowhere. I'm from like the East Coast of Canada.
Yeah.
We have like 30 floors. 30-story buildings is like the highest that we go. We also don't have like anything like program wise to like interior design or anything like that in school. Like, yeah, that wasn't an option. So I took a 2-year college program, and now I'm technically a tradesperson, I guess. So
But,
yeah, not as exciting as what you guys do. And I'm excited to hear what Paz does.
Yeah.
I guess my experience was, I think it's very different here compared to in the US or Canada, because I graduated high school at 16.
Oh.
So I was really young. It's really normal here. And when you graduate high school at 16 or 17, because we're by the time right now it's different. People graduate high school pretty late, like 18. And because there's a new program by the government. But during my time back in 2014, I was 16 years old. I graduated high school, and the first thing I didn't do was actually not interior design. It was accountancy. So I had to study business for like a year. Asian parents is a stereotype that's actually true. They kind of choose their careers for us. And even though I really wanted to study architecture, like that's what I really wanted. But my parents, we have a business, so they want me to study business so that I could take over the family business, like the usual thing when it comes to in our culture, it's really like that. So what I did was I studied business for them. And then I was like, Ma, I don't want to do this. Can I please study architecture? And it's like, maybe not architecture because, might not be for you. It's like, why? I found something better. Why don't you try interior design? It's like, that's even better, actually. So I studied interior design at this really nice university in Cebu City. And Cebu City is this a big city in central Philippines where there's a lot of beaches. So to go out a little bit, you travel like an hour maybe away. There's like a really nice a perfect beach for you to just relax in. So I wouldn't say my weekends are like that, but we do go out on trips every now and then. So you'd say it's kind of like it's a kind of like a the vibe is like it's a city, but it's really busy. But you go to a resort on the weekend if you want to. So it's like that. It's really nice. So it's a really nice school. I don't want to go to school, but pretty much if I mention interior design in Cebu, you will know which school immediately. Anyways, people would care to Google that. But it's been amazing studying interior design in this big city. I come from a smaller city, so I've got to experience some new things. And I would say my experience is pretty technical. We studied theory as usual. We did like prototypes as well. Our teachers were very hands-on with us. And actually, here's a fun thing I want to share. During my first year, when we were still learning how to design, like the theory and everything, our teacher was telling us, since you all are, we're gonna teach you SketchUp soon, but for now, since you're still first years, I would highly recommend you guys just play The Sims. And I'm like, oh, I'll hold you up on that. So I just played The Sims for like at that time I didn't have The Sims 4. I had The Sims 3. So like, oh, this is perfect. I was playing The Sims on the weekends, when I have nothing to do, when it was not a particularly busy week, because my teacher told me to.
I love this so much right now.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. He ended up being my favorite teacher in the end. So he doesn't know that I'm kind of doing The Sims, like as like part of my career now. I probably tell him that. I think he'd be super happy to hear that. But like, yeah, a lot of my college life was super fun. And yeah, I love Sims, actually just Sims 3. And then we also, went on the tours, because all around Cebu City, there are it's the oldest city in the Philippines. So there's so many old houses, and we got immersed in like a lot of those. So a lot of our projects involve like very cultural. In fact, my undergraduate thesis was based on an old house, and it was just probably the hardest thing I've ever done. Even until now, even when I'm a professional, because there's like a lot of stuff going on there, but it's something that I've always enjoyed doing. And it's nice to know that I can actually apply what my knowledge in The Sims to my my designs even in university. So it's a 4-year course. 4-year course. I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but here it's called like they call it like a 4-year course. I don't know if it's like the proper terminology outside of my country, but like that's just what people call it here. And then I got it's a Bachelor in Science, not Bachelor of Arts. It used to be Bachelor of Arts, now it's Bachelor of Science in Interior Design. And I'm not sure if it's the same here outside of my country, but after we graduate, we're not interior designers yet. We have to take a licensure exam. So usually people would study for an entire year just to pass the licensure exams. And it's insane because it's nationwide. So they usually, everybody who studies interior design has to take that exam. And if you don't pass, you don't get your licensure. So for me, by the time I was going to take my exam, it was 2019. I graduated 2019, and I was going to take my exams like a year after. So I had to study a bit, and I had to take my exams a year after. So 2020 was a pandemic, obviously. So everything was canceled. So because usually it's just face to face. So for exams, it's insane. We had to draft by hand still. So you have 8 hours the whole day. For the whole day, you have to draft, like they give you a design problem. You have to draft floor plan, elevations, reflective ceiling plan by hand the whole day for 8 hours. And if you can't finish, you will fail. You also have to create a hand-drawn perspective. They'll tell you which one, 2 point, 1 point. And you have to render it by watercolor, markers, depends, but you have to finish all of that within 8 hours. So 8 to 5 p.m. It was insane. And it's not just one day, it's 3 days. So 2 days. Insane. Yeah. It's like 2 days. It's just theory, multiple choice, professional practice, history, all that. And then there are 3 exams per day. So 6 exams, just multiple choice. And then on the 3rd day, we have the drafting test. So they gave us a design problem, and we have to do everything by hand. And I would say it was probably the hard. Like I would say my thesis was pretty hard. But this one was just insane. So you can imagine people don't eat during those exams. They just don't.
Right.
And this was I took it last year, so I'm just glad I don't have to do it again. Because if you fail, you can always retake. But like, that was a one take for me. So I
Oh,
got my
good.
license, thankfully.
Congrats.
But it was yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
But I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but we've been trying to get. In fact, I was one of those people who actually tried to petition that, guys, can we like make this exam if we're gonna do like hand drafting, which people don't do these days. We all do
Mm-mm.
digital. We all do.
Mhm.
We all do
Right.
AutoCAD. We all do SketchUps. Like, can we like have a digitized exam? Yeah. But then like the people who are the board or whatever, like the leaders of the industry are like, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I'm just gonna.
You're just like,
They
what?
said, no, we need to keep things traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's
Like,
still
where nobody draws in paper anymore.
it's still the same. I mean, I had to take hand drafting. Yeah, like what you just described, like wasn't we obviously we didn't have it that rigorous. Like we were not hand drafting for 8 hours, but like that, my whole first 2 semesters of my associates was all hand drafting.
Mhm.
You don't touch AutoCAD until way later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that definitely was there, but it wasn't, and then of
yeah,
course, like,
same here.
yeah, and then of course we're not like required after graduation to get certified. Like I said earlier, like you could choose to go a different direction if you
Yeah.
wanted, but like yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that was definitely a thing. And the watercolors, which I loved the sketching classes, like the rendering with like watercolor and all that stuff, and like Copic markers and everything like that. I loved it. But it's not something that I would do in practice in the industry now, just because of time and efficiency.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Having said
Oh,
that,
yeah.
I love watching the like Instagram and TikTok reels of people doing the watercolors and
And the
stuff.
markers, yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
like my favorite pastime.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
best
that's cool.
ASMR that's out there right now for me.
I was
Right,
like, I'm
right.
good for you guys. I'm
100%.
traumatized. But it was fun when you were like in your first or second year of university. It was we also did sing, and also we weren't actually required to take the exam. Just if we want to get our licensure, if we want to do private practice, if we want to be called interior designers, because you can't call yourself that here either. If you
Mhm.
don't get your license, you're gonna get into a lot of trouble if you're gonna be calling yourself an interior designer or anything. But so I
Yeah.
had to take it because it's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah, the things you have to go through, it's
No, that's
insane.
amazing. Congrats, by the way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, congrats. That's
Thank you. I'm never doing it again.
So
You
how
won't
many
have
of us here
to.
are actually good at math?
I love math.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was my favorite
But
subject.
no,
in
it's just
high school.
the usual thing you do, just estimates and whatever, just basic stuff. Uh, barely even a lot of math in our exams. I think the harder math is given to like the architecture exams. It's totally
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. I still feel like you have to like have a little bit of like math under your belt because I think a lot of people think interior design is like just picking pretty things.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yes.
Googling like on
Yeah.
center what the dimension of from the wall to the toilet is. It's like,
Egress standards and
Occupancy
ADA.
load.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
yeah, like
that was
things we're doing is like so mundane and boring compared to what people think.
Yeah. Yeah.
that was literally like my entire like of convincing my parents that like I wanted to go to design school and everything like that. And like then even just like post graduating, I'm like working at this big ass firm and they're like, so like what do you like, do you pick out like fabrics and stuff? Like I'm like, I'm not just picking out throw pillows all day. Like this is not what like you have no people have. And to know like I'm not like, oh my god, people have no idea, but like seriously, people have no idea. Like it's like what I mean? Like it's like there's
Yeah.
unless you are adjacent to someone in the industry or you've gone to school for that or whatever. It's like it's a whole. I mean, it is like you said. Kaz said Bachelor of Science. Like it is a science. Like it's an art form. It's all of the above. So yeah, it's that I guess one of the biggest things, and I don't know if this would be one of your questions, Stassi, but like it here a lot of people get really offended in the industry if you call them interior decorators. We're not decorators. Do not call us decorators. We're designers. Like,
Yeah.
like that's not something that's like yeah. And like also sorry, sidebar, Disney, I definitely, you kept saying earlier that like, you know, like, oh, maybe not as exciting as you guys. Like, no. You're a designer. Like
Yeah,
you have
don't
to,
downplay yourself
yeah,
here.
Thank
you
Yeah.
have to know, especially like you said, mechanical and electrical plans and stuff like that. Like that is, you have to have a basis knowledge and understanding of like, you know, working in a building and like codes and all that stuff. That is
But
Yeah.
candles.
right.
And it's not like the riser systems of the plumbing and like
Exactly. That
Yeah,
is that is
exactly.
design. So don't
Yeah.
don't
Thank
sell
you. I
yourself short.
appreciate that. Yeah, it is actually quite complex work. A lot of people will look at what I'm drawing and they're like, "Oh, it looks like you're just drawing like circles and lines on top of an architectural drawing." And it's funny though because like the person who designed the actual architectural design of it probably doesn't make as much as me going in and drawing the circles and the lines to know where the mechanical HVAC systems are going. But it's you still have to know where you can put things, and same with like electrical too, right? Like you have to know where the light switches would go and where they're going to connect, and same with in-floor heating. Like you have to know where the connections are for all of those things, and so it looks design-wise easy, but it's actually quite complex.
Can
Yeah, you
can I
kind of have
ask
to know how
a
not to
silly
blow a building
question?
up.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we all know that kind of like what we all do and everything, and I think
Yeah.
this is probably going to be a question that Stassi asks too, but I feel like this is such a good like conversation topic right now. But like, how often is it when you're building in The Sims that you're literally creating your lighting fixtures to like a lighting plan? Like everything is in a row,
Yes,
centered up. And now
100%.
that we have light switches, like you're like,
Yeah.
okay, here's where I would put like a three-way. Here's where I would be putting like,
Yes.
stuff like that.
I even have
And
CC
it's just
outlets.
like one of those things now, like whenever I'm or like doing the plumbing drawings, like one of the things that I am like so notorious about, like when I'm streaming and stuff, I'm like, this is an outside wall, I can't put a toilet here, I can't put plumbing here and stuff.
Yeah.
Literally me.
That happens so much. I look at people's builds all of the time and I
Yeah.
feel so bad because I'm judging it with like an architectural
Yeah.
eye of
No,
like,
me too.
oh, it's
Yeah.
pretty, but that's
Oh
not
my
actually.
God,
What'd you say, Paz?
same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
it's like, especially streaming it is so, it's so funny, and I'm sure obviously like it like Kev and I'm sorry, Paz, do you stream? I can't remember.
Oh no, I
No,
do
okay.
YouTube.
Got it. Yeah.
I don't stream. I wish I would. I could, but
No, it's fine. I just couldn't remember. But either way, it's like, it's funny like talking to like an audience, because obviously like the audience of people that are coming to a sim stream are just like Sims and cool pretty things, and like you said, like you're looking at it through this like totally different lens, and it's like I will literally, I was modding for another streamer the other day, and she put a door down, but the door swing was going the wrong
Yeah.
direction, and I was like, flip the door, like it's just like one of those things. Yeah, the light switches. I have CC outlets that I recently downloaded, so now I can't stop placing outlets in every single one of my buildings. Yeah, it's a whole other lens, and like they're all looking at, I mean, I don't know, I mean, sometimes like chat may be a little bit quiet or whatever, but like they're all like, okay, sure, and I'm just like, no, it can't go there.
Yeah.
It can't. Like, and they're like, well, why don't you just do this? And I'm like, because I would never do that in real life. Like,
Yeah.
I can't see The Sims as built. It's hard for, unless there's, because obviously there's some constraints and like stipulations when it comes to the game, because it is a game at the end of the day. But at the same time, it's like, as I build as realistic as I possibly can, because I just can't really see it any other way. And that's kind of like, I guess that's obviously part of my brand, but yeah, I'm not gonna put, a toilet on like on an exterior wall and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I'm gonna,
Exactly.
like, now that we have apartments and stuff, like, you best believe that plumbing is stacked. It's
Yeah.
stacked.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate when it's not. I hate when people design it in real life and it's not too, because I'm just like, why? Why do you hate me? Why are you doing?
You're like, jog.
Yeah, like, I hate you. Do you know how much money this is costing you for no fucking reason? Sorry. Anyway, I digress. You know what else really bothers me with builds, and I'm so sorry to call anybody out who doesn't have the skill. Making roofs. There's so many times where I'm like, this wouldn't work because it's like sloping right into creating like a pool
The
in
valley.
it wouldn't work. Like,
Yeah, like those like super mid-century ones where they're like in Oasis Springs or whatever, when they're like folded in and you're like, that is a trap.
That's a leak waiting to happen.
Sorry, Stassi, we're just like
Yeah.
having coffee
No,
over here. Like,
that is why I created roundtables many moons ago, so you guys can communicate. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, was gonna ask this question. Gotta ask this question. I'm just really curious. What has been the highlights of everyone's career so far? And anybody can go first, and then anyone can go in any order.
I'll go first. So I worked on a resort and spa in Belize. It's called Naya Resort and Spa, and it got featured on Vogue Weddings.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at
Only
that.
time I'll ever be on Vogue.
it's fine. Everything's fine.
Oh my goodness, I love you so much. I mean, I work on mega mansions, and it's like a whole different caliber. Like, it's the size of condo buildings a lot of the time, where like, these are homes that are 35,000 square feet, and we have double height, like double level basements in them that are like right against Lake Michigan. And, like the water table is such a factor, because of it. So like, I think I'm really fortunate because of the type of homes that I get to work on. And I can't just like pinpoint one moment, because each completion of these homes, like this home is under construction for like, 4 years, 3 to 4 years. And that's assuming that weather is decent, that we can, get stuff done during the winter. But like yesterday I was pricing out tile for a master bathroom for a vacation home in Michigan, and this tile was adding up to be $560 US dollars a square foot. And it's like one of those things that, like, at the end of the day, they're spending $80,000 for a floor. And it's like, I will never have that kind of wealth personally, nor do I don't know if I personally value that, but if it brings somebody joy, then I'm happy to be a part of it. And I feel like our jobs are also like, being psychiatrists also, in a way, dealing with client personalities and like relationships of homeowners. So
I literally say that all the time. There's so much psychology.
Exactly. And every day there's some new challenge. And I'm very fortunate for that, because it doesn't feel like a stagnant job for me, like it's every day something different. And I do look forward to that. So
I love that.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I was about to ask you what's your highlight?
My highlight, yeah, I similar to Kev, like I it's hard for me to pick like one specific thing, but honestly, I mean, yeah, I've gotten I've had the chance to work with some pretty high profile clients, and like that's been fun to kind of have that experience under my belt. And like, yeah, you are a psychologist a little bit, and you have to kind of like, learn. Literally half of our jobs is reading the room, like it literally and figuratively. So it's I got the opportunity to work with Lisa Kudrow, which was really cool. And yeah, she was awesome. And
Disney's like losing her mind for anybody who can't see this.
she was amazing. I think everyone I told that story to was like, oh my god, was she Phoebe? And I'm like, no, She was not Phoebe. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like
she was Michelle. That's what she was, you know.
Oh my
She
god.
invented post-its.
exactly. Exactly. No, she was just, you know, and her husband is very, very sweet. And like, yeah, I had the opportunity to work on their personal home and like and stuff like that. So like it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it does put it into perspective. And that's what I was gonna say about Kev's comment just about like the $80,000 floor or whatever. It's just like it is kind of an odd juxtaposition, and I'd be curious to hear from Paz's perspective in the Philippines, but like because just I never know, like I guess like sourcing wise and like everything like that, like and the rates and pricing and all that stuff in like other countries. Like I feel like I'm a little bit ignorant to that, but it's just wild. Like I will literally, you know, be on my way marching up with my little tape measure to this $1 million, you know, multi-million-dollar mansion and measuring and, you know, designing it head to toe, and then I go back to my one bedroom apartment in
Yeah.
Boston.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, it's like it's so interesting that like that it these are the and they're the ones paying you, right?
Yeah.
Like you would think that it's such an interesting juxtaposition to me. But yeah, I to answer your question, I would definitely say yeah, like cool, like you know, moments like that. I got to hand Leonardo DiCaprio a bottle of sparkling water once. That was pretty cool. Just like random little things. But honestly, I don't know. It's been pretty cool, like integrating The Sims into my career. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, I never thought if you
And
told,
vice versa too, you
yeah,
know. Yeah, real life in The Sims. So
exactly. If you
yeah.
told 16-year-old me, like, hey, you're gonna be like live streaming one day and like doing your, you know, passion in The Sims and coupling both of your only passions in life online and you people actually like want to watch and actually care what you're doing, I would be like, no, I don't believe you, you know, like
I would
but
agree.
yeah,
Like I would
that's
never have this feeling. So
that's pretty cool. So
I love that.
yeah.
Paz, how about you?
Okay, so I'm very new to the industry. I did mention I just got my license last year. So you can imagine a lot of my projects were like I've just took part in some of them. I didn't really handle anything personally like on my own yet. But this is the reason why I did work in a firm so that I could get, you know, that experience, because the goal was to really work independently, because where I'm from, it's a lot easy to work independently since I do come from a small city that's just, you know, developing. So there's a lot of opportunities and there's very little competition, which is kind of why I decided to go that route. So I guess I would talk about some big projects I worked on. I did work on a mountain resort. I never really saw it finish, sadly, because there was like a lot of things going on there. But probably the best thing that's ongoing, that's going ongoing currently in my career, is that I do have a project with a government office, and the tourism office in particular. They're trying to revamp this old city center in their little city, and it's going to be a historical project. So they're going to get like the big historical people in the national call this organizations involved, and I'm pretty much going to be the designer of that. So there's going to be for heritage conservation, basically. So that's like the coolest thing that I'm doing, and it's something I'm very passionate about, and it ties very well into like my studies previously. So it's
yeah.
nice working with, I guess it's nice working with a government office, because how often do you get a chance to be, you know, the official designer for this heritage site that's going to be revamped? And there's so many in that area. It's not just the government building. There's like an old house that they want to turn to a restaurant. There's this church that needs to be I wouldn't say, what do you call it, I wouldn't say adaptively reused, but I think they're going to restore like parts of it,
Yeah.
which is super exciting, and I'm going to be so involved in that. And it's so cool. It's still ongoing. Usually with government projects, they take so long to do. Like it's been, I don't know how many years already. But it's nice that I've been told that it's going to be pushed through this year, which is something I'm very excited for and looking forward to. And I can't really talk much about it, but like that's technically like the gist of it. So I would say that's like the highlight of my career so far, other than deciding to work solo and getting my license just recently. So super exciting.
That's
That's all.
awesome.
awesome.
I love historic preservation. Like that's such
Me
a
too.
fun category to be in too. Like
It is.
I've worked on many like historic protected homes here in
Yes.
Chicago from like famous architects, and it's always a challenge, because there's so many strict limits of like what you can do to it, but it is really rewarding to be able to be on those projects too. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, historical
Yeah.
conservation is really fun. There's a lot of
Mhm.
historical properties in Los Angeles as well. And like Pasadena being a city that's like primarily all historical, like almost all the homes are historically conserved,
Mhm.
which is awesome. And it's even fun to just like have a little bit of that, working in constraints and in design and that little red tape, and like having this original fireplace that you have to preserve and you can't touch, or like the original a lot of craftsman homes are here in Los Angeles, so like a lot of the wood is like original to like the 1910s, and like you
Mhm.
can't touch it.
Mhm.
So all that stuff is like super fun to then incorporate into a more you know contemporary design, but then at the same time like still, and that's kind of like my personal aesthetic too, is like I love that like transitional, but also that I like creaky floors and like houses on foundations and wainscoting and all that, like like weird, like old looking plumbing and stuff like that. I love it. So yeah, that's also a cool like avenue to be in for sure. Again, like that's another facet. You could only work in historical design.
Preservation.
Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like that is a separate line
Yeah, it's so
works.
cool. Just listening to you talk, Asia, I couldn't help it. I just watched the movie Saltburn. I would highly recommend.
I'm
It was
about to watch it tonight, literally,
a
with my
great
sister.
movie, but architecturally, oh
Someone recommend
my
that to
God,
me too.
Yeah.
it was incredible. Like
I'm gonna build Saltburn in The
you
Sims. I'm
should.
so
Yeah.
excited for it.
So it has like the old architecture, but then like the furniture they put in it is actually not modern, like maybe like
Updated. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's just the coloring of like the
Oh,
living
I'm
room,
excited now.
the
Yeah.
dining room, like you're going to
The
just
house itself is a character of the
yeah.
movie. Like
Oh,
and there's like a scene where like they're like walking him through like the different areas of the home, and what's
mhm.
really interesting is to like even get up into like the bedroom areas, and you're walking through like a dressing room that's like red painted lacquer, like high gloss lacquer walls in it,
Right,
and you're like,
right.
you can see maybe that was like original molding, or maybe it was like covered with lacquer, or it was like sprayed or something, but it was just like, it's just old molding that has that new touch to it with
Yeah.
the lacquer, and it just
Like
it's
who needs OnlyFans when you have architecture porn?
I know,
Like
honestly. And those are some of my favorite YouTube videos, are like these people who are like so like soft spoken and like guiding you through like this I don't know, Scandinavian like lagoon home and stuff like that. And it's just
God.
like so like sensual, and it's just like the music that they're playing, and I'm like, this is a good video.
how I feel watching all of Danielle Build's videos.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah,
Her new videos are just so good. They're so good.
Sims
I love
ASMR.
architecture in movies though, like
Mhm.
and TV shows like Haunting of Hill House. The house in that was amazing, and architecturally it made sense for a lot of it too. There's a lot of things in media that don't make sense. Speaking of California homes, the Full House home has always pissed me off because there's like
Yes.
stories. There's no way that there is a basement in which Jesse and Becky lived up there with their twins. It doesn't make sense. It's
Yeah.
not Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Always
that set did not match the house.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
bothers me.
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like
Our
two
living room didn't make sense. Trash.
there's two staircases in that house too.
Yep.
And they never show how they only show one view of like the main one in the living room, but like the other one is just kind of a way you can tell that's just like a little set prop, and they just stand there and use.
Both the Fresh Prince of Bel Air houses didn't make sense. Trash.
Yeah, also that 100%.
Tell us how you really feel, Court.
Yeah, no shit, eh?
I'm sorry if I digressed into this.
That's so funny.
Why do you invite me on these things, Stassi?
Because you bring the entertainment, love. That's what you do, and you bring the facial expressions that I love. It's so funny hearing you guys talk about this because, like, as a chef, when I watch stuff, I'm like, that's not how it's done.
Yeah.
It's like The Bear. I love The Bear. That's not how kitchens function. No one gets like fucking stabbed at like 9 a.m. with a fucking dart. Like, no. But it's
but
just
in
fun.
Chicago, maybe.
I'm like,
Chicago.
In Chicago.
Never set a Newfoundlander with their food, Stassi. You will get shit.
Please. I just started watching that show like literally the other night.
Have you gotten to the second season of it yet, or no?
I don't know.
Okay, there's a in this.
Oh, have I gotten to the second season? No, I'm literally on the third episode.
Okay, there's a episode in the second season where it's like a Christmas party at the house, and Jamie Lee Curtis is the mom, and it's literally the most manic acting I have ever seen Jamie Lee Curtis do, and it is probably maybe the best acting I've ever seen Jamie Lee Curtis do. And she is this like high energy, bipolar, like manic person in the kitchen cooking for everybody, and her hands are just dirty and they're going everywhere, and she's just like crazy. But that house that they filmed it in is actually behind my firm.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So they had all the trucks up. Yeah, they had all the trucks back there, and like I was back there and I was like, where is he? You know, are they here? Is the bear here? You know, but yeah, no, they filmed it like at night. So
cool.
Yeah.
Which actually leads me to a question. So for many years, I worked in the sign industry, which is boring as hell. I'm not going to sit here and glamorize the sign industry. However, that's where I'll be like, I fucking did that sign. I put the graphics on that car, all that good stuff.
Cool.
In real life, how often do you see your creations or a building that you've worked on and you point at them and be like, I worked on the 47th floor and the person, it's like, that's great, dear. I'm just really curious.
I do that a lot, actually.
A lot. Yeah.
I guess like I don't know. I said every day kind of facetiously, but like I like a lot of my like there's a certain area, there's like a certain pocket where most of my clients were just like demographically, financially, just like where they ended up being. And anytime I'm over there, it's a lot more like, oh yeah, I did a house up here and like whatever. But you know, more towards where I live, it's a little less common. But it is one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. And you know, sometimes it's maybe a project that didn't go so great and you get kind of more flashbacks and like, you know, whatever. But other times, I guess it's since I'm usually, you know, on the interior, it's less likely that I would see, unless it got published in like you know, Architectural Digest or something like that, it's less likely that I would see like that somewhere. But you know, most of my like design in my career has been interior and not exterior. So you know, it wouldn't be something that I would like drive by a building and be like, oh yeah, I worked on like the development of that building. It, you know, it's more so like, yeah, I was, you know, on the 40th floor of that building. Yeah.
As a gloater, I'm totally don't care if it was the interior of the building. I'm like, I worked on that. I worked on that. I worked on that. I did that.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Kath, how about you? Do you point out every time you're on Michigan Avenue and you're like, so I did that apartment and that
Yeah.
over there. I was at that store. I did that
Ellie
floor.
Yeah, yeah. And like even like when we're like driving, because like where we live is actually like in like the area that, I work in a lot too. And it's just like even if we're just driving, to get into the city or something, it's like, there's this house, this client, they did this, kind
Right.
of a thing as you're just driving into the city, and it's just you're proud of it too, it shows that you're happy. And even if it was a crazy client, because we all have crazy clients and we all have very particular clients too,
Are you
you
really a
take those
designer
as
if you
learning
don't have the
lessons.
same client? Yeah.
Yeah.
Paz, how about you? When you walk by any building, I know
Oh
you've only
yeah,
done
all
this for
the
about a
time.
year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Now I got a couple more questions and then we're gonna wrap up these questions
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we're
I have. Like, one of them is actually just, yeah.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello? Sorry. Yeah, I always point out every building I worked on. In fact, one of them is just a few blocks away from my house. Like I could just walk there. It's like, I did that.
Yeah.
It's like motivation every morning. Like I worked on this one. And then I'm gonna work on the other one next to it. Kind of like
Aw.
so it's a nice sense of pride, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to like remind you I'm in the right place. I kind of
Yeah.
like that.
I
I'm
love that.
lucky too, actually. I have an apartment building that I worked on that's literally up the street from my house. And yeah, it really is like every day I get to look at it because I get to go for coffee. And yeah, I feel like it induces this like level of pride in me as I start the day. It's nice. It's a nice feeling.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I got a couple more questions and we're going to wrap up this and then we're going to talk about castles at the very end. As we know, the customer is always right, no matter if they are 100% wrong, because most of the time they are wrong. They are wrong. I don't care. I don't give a fuck what they say. They are wrong. Especially when it comes to design, you may have the best design in mind, but the client says, no, I want to do it this way. Have you ever gone into The Sims and actually designed a product how you wanted it versus what the client wanted?
100%. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And like there's
Oh.
times where like I take elements from a project, like, I'll
Yeah.
take like a floor plan or something, right? And I'll put that in The Sims. And like it might not be the style of home that house was, but like there's elements of that floor plan that I really like and that I'll put that in The Sims. And then like maybe during construction they've like changed it somehow that they feel is better. Like I don't know. I'm not a big like open floor plan person. I actually hate open floor plans personally. Like I love like kitchens sort of being separate from like family rooms, and a lot of people love that open concept. And I feel like that it loses the formality, and there's also like, it's too, you're using those spaces for two separate different reasons that they shouldn't be in the same area, in my opinion. And so if that happens at the site, I'm generally going back to the original plan in The Sims of like, here's my kitchen. It might be an open archway that like opens the two spaces, but it's never like remove all the walls, like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think so the difference and the like juxtaposition of like doing this in The Sims and then doing it in the real world is like obviously you have a client that like, that's their house at the end of the day. So you kind of have to, adhere to certain things. I mean, of course, I mean, that's what they teach you in school, on the job, like if you're working for a firm or whatever, like you do have to learn. That's something that you kind of build up with seniority, is like learning how to justify your decisions and gaining that client trust and like, the whole thing of like, no, I really think we need to go this direction and here's why, and like, whatever. But obviously ultimately they can make that final decision. They're paying for it. So it's, whatever. But with The Sims, which is like obviously, you know, not real people, you kind of get that opportunity to create that for yourself. And like that's I like the Dream Home Decorator pack for that reason, that they kind of give you a prompt, and it's I do like that pack. I wish it a little better, but but it is fun, like getting to you know, show up at like it's already set for you.
Yeah.
But similar to what Kev said, you know, especially as you know, this is the sandbox game, and you get to, you know, put your visions, but like your personal like ideas and aesthetics and everything into something, whether that be a different aesthetic for each build, but it's still from your lens and your true, you know, signature. You know, like a lot of like designers usually have, like I was literally watching an Architectural Digest video the other day. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but the Ray Romano one. And you know, when they do the open door tours and stuff. I was watching it, and before, like in the very beginning, they usually tell you what designer they worked with. And before he even said it, I was like, "This is a Nate Berkus house." And he was like, "So our designer was Nate Berkus," and like, you know, it was like it's so
You
easy
can
to
tell.
yes,
Yeah.
you can tell like who, you know.
Yeah, you can spot an FLW house from like a mile away.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Like, and you know, you grow your aesthetic. So anyway, like bringing that back into the Sims, like that's always why, I mean, I do this, and you know, that's why I think The Sims was the gateway into this industry, was because that is, I mean, I view my Sims like my clients. Those are the clients. Like you're building for that. Like my builds always come out like literally 99.9% of the time, they always come out better when I have a family already made for that lot. If I can't, it's rare that I'm just building just to build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Who's
like
the family? What's the story?
What's the
Yes.
story?
And
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
as a judge on builder games, I personally find like if the build tells a story, I'm automatically more captivated by it. It tends to do better for me voting wise. Like there was an example of Nick built
In Mar. Yeah.
yeah. He built
Love
an
Nick.
East Coast kitchen party, and like maybe a little bit biased towards you know, my own heritage, but like just that story of, you know, gathering in the kitchen like that resonated with me. And it's like he ended up winning the competition for that round.
Yep.
And I think that's why it's like if your build can tell a story, it just means a little bit more, right? It's art. And I think ultimately architecture is that, you know, hybrid of art meets science, right? So yeah.
When I was in school, that was all, that's why, like I said, I feel like I got like a really good hands-on, you know, education there. They were so concept driven. Like we would get up like in you know, in front of the class and have to do presentations for everything. And you know, like even if it was just like a small little homework assignment, we had to present it. Like that was always like the thing. And so, you know, you get up in class, and like one girl was like, I remember this so specifically, she got up and was like, "Oh, you know, I chose to do this here and this here." My professor was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Oh, I like it. It looks really nice. Like I think it looks good together." She failed that assignment because it's not just they
looking
were
good.
So,
yeah.
they were so, I mean, maybe she didn't fail, but she did not do well because it's not just about looking good. It's
concept.
Like they're so concept driven. They make you tell them why you did something. Like what is the reason why like you made that specific choice in your design. And like it sounds a bit like ruthless because sometimes it is just like, yeah,
but
I
that
really
is real life too, though.
That is
like,
real life.
Yeah, because that is very much like clients will ask you like, why, you know, like, why do you want to do that? And you really need to have the correct answer on like,
you need to be able to justify
suggesting it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah. So like, I don't doubt that you know, build that had a concept that like resonated with you was the one that won that competition, because that is design. Like you're not just putting like, it's not just the physical, you know, materials and everything. You are designing a concept. Like you are designing something that space is going to evoke, or like that's going to mean something to somebody, you know, whatever. Like I had this, sorry, and not to like go on, but I had this like epiphany in my senior year of college because again, so concept driven my school, and they were like, you know, your thesis has to be, you know, XYZ, like, you know, we all have to come up with our theses and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know what my thesis is. Like, why am I here? Why do I do this? Like, what the heck? And I don't even remember what it was, but I literally remember laying in bed at like 1 a.m. and I shot up out of bed and I was like, oh my God, that's it. Was I tend to draw my inspiration from nostalgia. I literally have a neon sign in my bedroom that says nostalgia above my bed. And that's something that is like, you know, I grew up in the same house for 17 years before like I went to college and my parents moved and all that stuff. Like I literally have its coordinates on my wrist, like, you know, tattooed on my wrist. And so it's like all that stuff. If I could, my parents had this tree in the front of their yard that was a jacaranda tree, you know, with the purple flowers, and it would bloom every single year on their anniversary, like on the day. So if I could create those kind of moments for every other residential client I have, you know, like that's why I'm here. So like
Yeah.
I'm
concept is
so
everything.
swooned. I would hire you just for that. Oh my God.
Oh,
I'm
thank
like,
you.
my husband and I aren't that serious.
What, you don't have
Neither
a
am I.
blooming
My
tree
parents
on
are
your
divorced, so
anniversary?
Oh my God.
yeah,
It's like, well, that's why I picked this color for the walls. It's like, oh my God.
and obviously not like every single little tiny thing, you know, like of course there's gonna be like, yeah, this is nice because it complements this or whatever. But like generally speaking, the whole concept for the room is like this is why, you know, and also each room is individual too. Like then you have maybe they have kids, maybe they have, you know, there's a sole purpose for that room or like, you know, whatever it is. And so it's I think that's the fun of it is pulling all that out. So,
Asia just turned this into like poetry corner, architecture poetry corner.
Right.
I'll show myself out.
What advice would you give to anybody who wants to get into this industry? And anybody can go first.
Play The Sims.
There's a good
Yeah,
chance if they're
same.
listening to this podcast, they probably play The Sims. Like there's a high correlation here.
And also Google SketchUp, download it and start playing around with it a little bit. And yeah, maybe take a look and Google like floor plans that you like and start just playing around with it. And if you find that it's something that you're doing as a hobby, maybe consider doing something more with it. But yeah, I feel like if your passions are naturally going towards doing that, it's telling you something.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, it's very much like we're all here for the same reason. We're all, you know, avid Sims players from the, you know, the beginning, and it does point you into this career if you let it. And you know, it's a good stepping stone to get you familiar with the industry. I seriously think that, and it gets you familiar with terminology too, you know, what are actual terms. And then I feel like as you become a builder, like you're also doing the research on what you want to do and what you're learning. And if you find pride and joy in that, then, you know, you can absolutely look at being an architect, or you can look at being an interior designer, or, you know, a drafter, or, you know, maybe you just, and there's so much more to the paths like we talked about today that are beyond just, I mean, in retrospective, people joke that all I do is draw and go shopping for people. Like that's what they feel like is all I do. But there's so much more to it, in the psychology of, you know, making a home, so much more than, you know, just paint colors and fabrics. So
So well said.
yeah.
Sims Interior, how about you?
I would say honestly, like advice wise on, you know, like getting into the industry, yeah, play The Sims, you know, like find things, you know, whether it's Pinterest, like, you know, Instagram, Tumblr, whatever you use, like find things that like inspire you. It helps kind of, you know, define like, or at least, you know, get you familiar with what your aesthetic might be in the future. But I would say more professionally speaking, and just more like I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for the industry. My biggest piece of advice, oh, my biggest piece of advice would be comfortable with rejection, or learn how to get comfortable with
Well
rejection.
said.
Oh, for sure.
This, like Kev just said, like it's a very fun, you know, like we all were just talking about, like it's a very fun and you know, exciting business to be in. And I'm not saying, that's not to say like, oh, you're always going to get knocked down or whatever. But I mean, like, yeah, it can be a pretty ruthless industry as well. And you're
Mhm.
not just going to start off. It's rare that you're just going to start off and be like, okay, cool. Like I'm a really successful designer now. Like, so I think I definitely had to have that bubble burst for me when I was like super green in my career. So I would just, yeah, like keep that in mind. I mean, this is something that's so personal, and you are going to be presenting like your personal creations to people, and not everyone is going to like it. So I would just be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Love
That's such extremely good advice. Paz, how about you?
I guess mine would I echo everybody by saying, yeah, play The Sims more and more. But also, I guess it's important to learn how to draw, even just the basic sketching techniques, like practice your lines, whatever. Because even when you are playing The Sims, sometimes I'm the type of person who like draws it a little bit, like on paper. Not that I have to like do a big sketch or anything. It's just diagrams, planning, whatever, trying to see if like, oh, this looks good, maybe I could add this, add that. So I guess learn how to draw, because usually when you get into in an interior design school, architecture school, they're gonna make you draw in your first year, or maybe for 2 years. For us, it was definitely 2 years, and we learned like the computer techniques, like the programs, like later in our, maybe late of our second year and our third year onwards. But yeah, definitely learn how to draw and practice that, and do your little bit of research to like the different ways that you could plan a house. There's so many out there. I actually made a video about that. I just want to share it. But I made a video about that. It's just really just basic stuff that people can pick up on and take note of, and like, oh, I learned this thing. I'm gonna apply it to my build in The Sims. Maybe one of these days I might consider doing this in real life as part of my career. So little by little, we do learn things as we go, and it's important to take a lot of inspiration, take notes, study like different concepts, and yeah, like I said, practice your drawing skills, because it's gonna help you a lot while you're studying, and even while you are already practicing. That's my advice.
Yeah.
Amazing. Does
Nice.
anyone, sorry,
I was just gonna say that's great advice. Love it.
does anybody
Thank you.
have anything else that they want to add before we talk about castles?
I don't know. The Sims is amazing. Everyone go download it for free, and then fall down the slippery slope of getting all the DLC like all of us. So
So castles.
So castles. So
castles.
last week, we finally got the two community voted kits, castles and goth. I have not, at this time as this podcast is being recorded, have played either of them. My review of it will just be biased of how I've seen castles played and seeing the items themselves, and I will save my opinions to the end, I shall say. Kev, since you are an EA part of the EA Creator Network, what was it like getting the it kind of before everybody else and building castles?
It's a really fun selection of items that are in it. I do think the kit is a little thin on the amount of both of them, both the goth and the like out of all the kits that we've had so far, I feel like this one seemed to be the thinnest. Like the fact that there's like really one style of window, but like, yes, it comes in 3 different sizes, but like it seemed a little thin. However, the thing that I am most loving from that I just posted yesterday on was there is a wallpaper swatch that is like this new like castle stone, right? And it actually, in the build that I did, has these like really pretty towers on it. And I don't think a lot of people have played around with these wallpaper swatches enough yet that there's actually a gradient to the stone. So like and it's a reverse gradient, so it makes it look like the drip or like the antiquiness of like moisture buildup of stone is at the top where you would have like cornices and like pediments and stuff like that, and it just goes from dark to light as if the stone is being bleached out and everything. I will say
That's awesome.
that is
So good.
beautiful, and it is very, very well executed, but
Yeah.
it makes me sad that it's like I usually I'm pretty like level-headed when we get these packs, and I did feel like this one was kind of thin with the amount of like additional architectural elements that we
And
would want in
furniture.
that. Yeah, like there's no furniture really.
Yeah.
There's like everything's for like the outside. Like I would have thought that we would have gotten some furniture. I thought that we would have gotten like flying buttresses or something like that, you know,
Yeah.
like these really classic like
Oh, yeah.
Gothic arches that like are
Yeah, we should have gotten one of those.
there's like nothing of that. So
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised, but
I was going to say as well, Gons made a good point on his review of it that you almost would have to have the werewolf pack, the vampire pack, the magic realm pack in order to actually like make a castle
cohesively make
vibe.
something. Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And so like if you
Right.
don't have those
Yeah.
packs, it's not going to be as fun of an experience for you, which is a little sad. And same with the goth kit with like it was a lot of cast items, but like very
no
limited.
hairs. There
Yeah.
are no hairs in that kit.
Yeah, no hairs.
Yeah.
Is that not the
And-
weirdest thing? Like no dyed hair with like
Mhm.
crazy neon tips or something? Like I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there's so many goth hairstyles that they could have
Right.
incorporated into that they didn't. It was very thin overall. And also I was surprised that they went with the vibe that they did for the goth, because like I feel like it was more like new age goth, and I feel like if they had like the castle pack, and Gon's touched on this as well, like why wouldn't you have some Victorian goth elements added to that? It would have been so
100%.
cohesive with the castle vibe. I'm surprised they didn't go that route.
Yeah, I'm trying to create some sort of like post right now with the goth kit, and I'm finding myself having to pull from those other packs, for the cast elements. Like you basically hit it, where it's like you have to pull from vampires, you have to pull from, these other packs to kind of get a cohesive look.
Post you in full goth mode, Kev. I want to see that. Just to post you in full goth.
Well, do you know what's
would love
really what I do actually appreciate is they did add an iridescent aspect to some of the swatches. So like if you have like the earring jewelry, like there is like an iridescent one, which is actually really cute. And then like one of the boots has like iridescent buckles on it too, which is really cute. So, but I feel like it was so thin,
Right.
So.
Like it's cool when on one hand it's cool like when we get stuff like that and it's like, oh yeah, this goes really well with this other pack and this goes really well with this DLC or whatever. But then you do kind of want it to like stand on its own as well. Yeah, I think with the castle kit, I also honestly these two like castles and like, that were like cathedral gothic, church style build is honestly a bit out of my comfort zone. It's not something that I like typically lean towards. Like I love a Victorian, but like castle aesthetic is just not really something that I do very often. So I don't know if I will be getting either of these kits, to be honest. I'm not sure. But just because that being said though, just because it's not my aesthetic, I do think that they were very good concepts to release into this game. Like I think those two demographics, and I think they're like literally I had a friend over the other day and we were playing Sims and she was like, oh my god, there's a goth kit coming out that's like me, like that's my entire being as from an adolescent to now, so it's like that there's definitely I completely appreciate that we have that. But I would agree with both of you that like that it's a bit thin and that we could have had a little bit more detail, especially with the build kit on something that's that ornate. But don't worry, I'm sure Peacemaker specifically is going to be adding some add-ons to those. So but
there were some like Felix Andre vibes that were coming through on some of these
100%.
of these items.
Yeah. Someone was like, Felix Andre should sue them for that from the Chateau collection.
And that's the thing, like I feel like they're hiding the collaboration if there is any. Like I want to hope that there is collaboration, but like
Right.
they're very like hiding it. So
Secretive, yeah.
yeah.
We do have to plug though Kev's builds on with the new kit. Like you have to go check out his well, I guess for me I'm obsessed with Instagram, so I'm just constantly going on right now to like my favorite builders and being like, what did they work on now?
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, what did Kev, what did Alex, what did Koki, what did Juby, what are they working on? Because I know like these are all like my castle nerds, so I'm just like can't wait to see what you're building.
I love English palaces. Like that's like one of my favorite things to build. And so like I always try and replicate those as best as I can. And I always find that I'm tooling objects to kind of like make my battle my battlements, going across the tops of, some of the towers and stuff like that. So like it is nice that we have that now.
Yeah.
Like that was a really smart thing to add. The windows are really pretty, but that stone is like I will be using that stone wallpaper on a lot of builds now because it's so pretty. It is really
your
pretty.
last build was insane. Like my jaw dropped when I saw it.
Oh yeah, I saw it immediately. Was like save. Like
Yeah.
all of like a bunch of Kev's builds are in my personal save files. Like
same.
that like restaurant that this is not a castle, but that like restaurant that you did, the closet course one.
Yeah,
like,
that was actually the collab that me and Stassi worked on together.
Yeah, I love that build. It's where my legacy Sims
go on date night.
Well, yeah, they went on a date night and she told her husband that she was pregnant again and like in that restaurant
over oysters.
Exactly. So yeah, it's like Kev's builds are always like perfect for like because the thing, it's like I love finding builders that I can like again trust. I hate to say it, but like trust in that like, oh, this is going to be very well executed and very well designed and something that like I would also do or like that I would also appreciate or whatever. And I'm going to put that in my game and then it works with what I already have.
Yeah. Or they're like good backdrops,
Not to
like
say I'm not, shitting at all on like every Sims build is beautiful. Like everybody loves.
Yeah, of course.
The Sims is the Sims, but yeah, there's obviously like, a level of appreciation.
Oh, I love seeing builds of any kinds, but like there are people that you're just like the Kevins of the world where you're like, you're next level with it. I'm sorry. That's just the reality.
Yep.
Everybody's like, are you playing the same game? Like, is this,
no, he's not. He's playing chess while we all play checkers.
That's so funny.
Oh.
Paz, do you have any thoughts on the castle pack?
Actually don't have an opinion about it because I haven't really explored the pack. I've only been around Twitter. That's usually where I get my news. But I do believe that I wish we had like an actual, not a kit, but an actual full-fledged pack for castles, maybe. Maybe even if it's just a stuff pack. Same for like the goth fashion. Like we could have had like an actual full-fledged pack for it because it just feels like I don't know. There's not a lot of stuff in the castle kit. Unfortunately, when I saw it, it's like, oh, that's it. And we voted for these. Like we had high expectations, right?
And it was a long time ago too.
Actually, I voted for the features.
It was like a year ago, right?
Yeah,
that we voted on them.
Wow. It was like right before Horserange came out or something, or Growing Together.
Something like that, yeah.
Forever ago.
Yeah, we voted for it.
Yeah,
it felt hyped in my opinion. So it's like when it came, you're like, oh,
yeah.
I was hoping for pastel goth. I wanted for pastel
well,
goth.
that would have been fun too.
Castles,
Yeah. There's a little bit of it in
so
there.
many kinds.
Yeah.
But like you can mix it with other.
I actually voted for the futuristic pack instead of the castles.
There's also a Bonehilda shirt, and I want that Bonehilda. Like they
in real life.
Sims merch because I would buy that in like that instantly for myself. Like they need to
Yes.
put more of the Sims merch on there for like what in-game looks like, because I just want to dress like I dress my characters.
100%.
Yeah.
Whole new
Yeah, I
line
agree
of
with Paz,
Sims
though.
wear coming.
I was gonna say, I wish that the castle wasn't a kit. I wish it was more like done like the two. In certain ways, like I wish that it had its own world, maybe with like a few lots.
You know, that's a great point, because like you think about like the Ren fairs that people do and stuff like that.
Right.
Like that could have been a fantastic like vacation
I
destination for
agree.
this
I think
for
they
this
should have
game.
done
Oh
that.
shit.
Wow.
Yeah, like one of the destination worlds, or like
Yeah.
like Paz was saying, like if it was a stuff pack that, or I guess if for it to be a world,
Yeah.
it would have to be a game pack, but it just, there could even be more gameplay associated with that, like you know, whether it's going to a Ren fair, or even just like you know how we have Realm of Magic, right? And there's spellcasters, like maybe not necessarily another cult, but just your sim can get into like medieval, you know, they can like craft their own suits and
Blacksmithing, you know,
blacksmithing, yes.
Just bring back the
making
Sims
turkey
medieval.
legs and at a food stall.
That's
skills.
so cool.
Yeah.
I really do think they would have been behooved to do something more like that. But it felt like they kind of rushed that into a kit when it could have been
So much more.
something.
So much.
So valid. So
I
valid.
feel like that's the case with a lot of the DLC, is that sometimes it gets a little bit rushed, but
I want an entire golf pack. Maybe
Yeah.
reserve like the kits for like gameplay this time. Like we've been begging for board games, just other.
We don't even have a
random shit that we
table.
could do. Like,
I know.
Why
oh
don't
yeah,
have
we
a
don't have a pool table. We deserve like a board game kit.
Was there a pool table in Sims 3? Because there
Yep.
was in
Sims
Sims
2.
2.
There was one in
There
Sims
was
3
in
too.
Oh, was there
Yeah.
Sims 3 too?
Yeah.
There was in Sims 2 for sure. Yeah, like what?
There were
Like
several.
spiral staircases. I know that's a dying battle. I am never gonna win that. They're not gonna give me spiral staircases. Okay, but like, why? Why can't I have a freaking pool table?
They said,
Honestly.
we all said we weren't going to have curved walls and horses, and we got those, so you never know.
Yeah,
Never
but you
know.
can't paint the
I hope
ceilings
I'm
on curved
missing it.
walls.
I want spiral
I
staircases.
know. Literally, the ceilings, the glitches. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
whether they're well executed is a whole other thing. But at least
Don't
we
do a
got it.
platform in a curved wall either. Like
It
there's
doesn't
all
even
these things that like
exist.
you can't do. So
I will say I was very impressed. Sorry, we're now just talking about The Sims, but like I am very impressed with the horses. I love horse ranches
Yeah,
so
me
much.
too.
I know that some people were like, whatever. It's like such a specific pack and like it's kind of niche and whatever. And I'm like, I love it. Like you could tell that was a pack. Honestly, Horse Ranch and Growing Together, I felt like they really put a lot of work in and
the
time
build buy in
into.
both of those packs are fantastic.
The build
Yeah.
buy, but even just the gameplay, like with the horses, the development of that, you know, they had
Yes.
to, you know, study like an actual horse and like its movements and stuff, and like
Mhm.
the animations are beautiful.
Mhm.
I love Horse Ranch, so
That's another pack that would tie in well with castles
With
too,
the castles.
because horses
Horses.
naturally,
yeah,
Mhm.
you could
Yeah.
do like the, what's it called, jousting.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
ah,
We should design this pack.
yeah.
Or
Listen,
Fire.
I just
horses
applied
should
to
have.
work-
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I just applied to work as a producer to EA. So
Ooh.
Oh.
Fingers crossed for you.
I know, I'm excited. Just even at the thought that I'm like, yeah, this is. Are you kidding me? Like, yes, of course, interior design, like dream, you know, job of mine since I was literally 10 years old. But also, if I could like work for The Sims, are you
Yeah.
kidding?
Does your sweater say Mariana's Trench?
It does. Are you a fan?
Of course.
Oh my god.
We're Canadians. Of course
Canada.
we're a fan.
Oh my god. Yes, I'm obsessed with them. Like, I have.
Okay, yeah, like I know every single song. We have to talk about this after. Sorry.
Alright, cool.
Amazing. I'd be so good to you.
Yes.
Oh.
Love them. Love that. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Canadians. Yeah, that makes sense.
See, it's either your Arkell's or Mariana's Trench. See, I'm more Arkell's these days than Mariana's Trench.
Oh.
No, I love Mariana's Trench. They're so good.
I'm
like,
Billy Talent all the way, baby.
They said They
Yes.
seldom come. They only come to America like every 5 years, and like I feel like they're about to drop an album, and I'm like, I need.
Josh's baby. I digress.
I've met him. He's kind of a little weird looking in person, but
I like him weird. We're good.
anyway.
Anyways, I guess my small little SCP, if you want to hear my real, like all my thoughts on the breakdown of the castle pack, please go listen to the podcast I've done with Juby and One Green Leaf where we break down the pack. But just like I was very disappointed as a community pack. I was expecting furniture. But the thing that as soon as I realized it was like an just castle outdoor, I was like, where is the greenery? Where are the veins? Where is literally anything? So I was
Where's my Godwood tree?
but like I don't know, I just wanted more. I always want more. And for the goth pack, completely disappointed. Both makeups we already had. The black down already had that. So I was like, I feel like they kind of just took stuff we already had and remeshed it.
Yeah.
So
That look was so last year.
Well, everybody, I think this is a perfect place to cap off this episode. I want to thank Kev, Sims Interior, Paz, and the Disney Sims for coming here and sharing their knowledge of what it's like to be in the design industry. Kev, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter, X, Twitch, YouTube, Pinterest, everywhere as KevTheBuilder. And yeah, I stream pretty much 4 days a week on Twitch, and Instagram's primarily my posting. Like that's where I usually post most of my stuff. So yeah.
I love that. Sims Interior, where can we find you?
So you can find me also on Twitch at twitch.tv/Simterior SIMTERIOR is like spelling. But yeah, you can find me there. I also stream 4 days a week. I also and I'm on Instagram, Simterior with just an extra R in the end. Same with the Sims 4 gallery. And yeah, new website coming up soon where you can download my build. So, but for now, if you go to Simteriorr.com, you can download some builds there. But new rebrand coming, so that's exciting.
Amazing.
Yay. Love a rebrand.
Yeah.
Paz, where can we find you?
You can find me I have a YouTube channel, so it's Paszerine, and I also have Instagram, Twitter at Paszerine, PASZERINE. And I'm working on my TikTok. Still, it's just a few things there, but you can go follow me on TikTok as well. So those are my socials. Just go ahead and follow me there. I upload at least, I try to upload as much as possible. Now that I have more time, about once a month or twice a month if I'm lucky. Usually about around, usually just upload like Sims how-to videos and build with me's and some stop promotions every now and then.
Amazing. Disney Sims, where can we find you?
You can find me mostly on Simstagram at the Disney Sims and Townie Tales, but I also dabble in TikTok and Threads because people are on that, right? So yeah, you can follow me on there. I'm also on the EA gallery if you want to download any of my Disney characters at the Disney Sims. And then if I'm not there, I'm usually on Stassi's podcasts because she lets me on and I like being on them.
Baby, you're welcome back here anytime. You don't need an invite. And I am so excited to talk about VPR soon. Like we are 9 days out. Is it 9 or 10?
Basically, get me on any episodes I can get on so I can beat Nard and KevTheBuilder on for being on.
Girl, you beat me. You're like double at this point.
Yeah, I think Nard's coming for your throne pretty quickly.
Yeah. We'll see. I'll take him out.
I gotta thank Kev, Sims Interior, Paz, and the Disney Sims for coming here today. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing to any of where you listen to your podcast. I am on every single platform. If you also like what I do, please follow me on Twitch, as I am now on Twitch, which is scary. But I don't know how often I will Twitch stream, but for the next several weeks, I will be joined by My Name is Gons, Nard, and Alex as we do a Sims draft. So please, please, please stay tuned to that. I'm back on making Rose Chronicle chapters. Yay! Took a nice hiatus because got married and then life. So I am back for the rest of the year. New chapters every Monday for the rest of the year. So please stay tuned for that.
Ooh.
And Patreon.
And I'm on Patreon. If you like this podcast and you would like to contribute in any way that you can, it's always very appreciated. And I think that's everything. As this season is coming very close to wrapping up, I'm very excited to take this podcast to the next level, which season 3 will be out later in the year. But the season finale for this podcast will be still February 25th. So please stay tuned for that. And everybody have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone who came on this podcast. Bye.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Bye.